Good day, classmates and Doc Mel. This report is still under Module 3, or the Models of Distance Education of our course EDD 201, or the Foundations of Distance Education. Today, I'll be presenting the continuation of our report on concepts and models of open and distance learning, with a particular focus on two pedagogical models from Otto Peters' work, which are the Group Distance Education Model and the Autonomous Learner Model, also called Contract Learning. Before we dive into the discussion, let's look at the learning objectives of Module 3. After completing this module, the learner should be able to number 1, compare and contrast different models of distance education, number 2, discuss how these models are currently practiced, and 3, analyze these models in the context of your institution or organization. So these objectives will guide our understanding of how distance education works and how we can apply these models effectively. To begin, let's define again ODL, or open and distance learning. Open and distance learning refers to a flexible educational approach that follows learning to take place beyond the traditional classroom anytime and anywhere. According to Peters 2002, ODL is built on different models of instruction, and understanding these models is key to designing effective learning systems. Today, we focus on two: the group distance education model and the autonomous learner model. Let's start with the group distance education model. This model is institution led, where students learn as part of a group, following a fixed schedule, engaging with centralized content, and receiving tutor guidance. One defining feature is the permanent use of media, particularly radio and television, not as a supplementary tools, but as the main platforms for delivering instruction. Now, let's explore the key features of the group distance education model. This model is one of the most structured format in open and distance learning and is widely used by national open universities, especially here in Asia. Let's break it down. So first one is the broadcast-based delivery. This model relies primarily on mass media, specifically the use of television and radio as the permanent channels of instruction. These aren't used occasionally, but rather form the backbone of content delivery. Lessons are aired through national broadcasting systems, making them accessible to learners and even in the most remote regions. Next one is the shared schedules and syllabi. Students follow a common schedule with a standardized syllabus. This ensures that all learners, regardless of location, move through the course at the same pace, often tuning into the same programs or receiving the same printed materials at similar intervals. Next one would be group interaction and tutor guidance. So even though the instruction is broadcasted, learners are not completely isolated in this model. Many institutions organize study groups or local tutorial centers where learners can interact with their peers and receive support from local tutors. These interactions help foster engagement, reinforce concepts, and reduce the feeling of distance. To summarize, the group distance education model balance mass reach with structured learning. While it emphasizes scalability and centralized control, it also provides human support through tutors and peer collaboration. This model is especially powerful for large populations where infrastructure may limit access to internet based platforms. Now, let's cite some examples of institution under the group distance education model. So first one is the China's Central Radio and Television University, now called as the Open University of China, where it uses scheduled radio and TV broadcast at its primary instruction method. The next one is the Open University of Japan, where it began in the year 1983, and they are still using TV and radio lectures through national broadcast channels. And the last example here is the Korean National Open University, or KNOU. They deliver education via also TV and radio, complemented by print guides and tutorials. So these three institutions rely heavily on broadcast technology to reach learners across vast and remote regions. Now, let's cite some pros and cons of this model. So, among its benefits are: number one, it reaches a large audience effectively. Number two, promotes structured learning. And lastly, it encourages peer interaction. For its drawbacks, it has an inflexible schedule. It also offers limited personalization. And number three, it requires access to broadcasting infrastructure. Now, let's explore the autonomous learner model, also known as contract learning. Here, the learner takes full responsibility for planning, managing, and assessing their own learning journey. According to Peters, 2002, learners in this model behave like researchers or problem solvers. In contract learning, a student and mentor create a personalized learning agreement or contract with set goals, resources, timelines, and evaluation methods. Now, let's look at the key features of this model. First is the learning contract or the agreement between the learner and a mentor or the facilitator. The contract, it outlines the learner's goals, resources, activities, timeline, and assessment criteria. This is a personalized plan which ensures that the learning process is purposeful and tailored to individual needs. Next one is the flexible timelines. Unlike group models with fixed schedules, this model it allows the learners to set their own pace. Timelines are flexible and based on the learner's availability, workload, and learning style. This makes the model ideal for adults like us managing work, family, or other responsibilities. The next key feature is self-directed activities. So learners in this model engage in self-chosen tasks like reading, research, projects, or journaling. These activities are often aligned with real-world applications or personal interests, which enhances motivation and relevance. The emphasis is on independent thinking, not passive consumption. The next key feature that I would like to highlight here is its high autonomy. So, most importantly, the model supports high learner autonomy. Students take full control of their learning process from planning and implementation to self assessment. The role of the instructor here is very minimal, usually limited to mentoring or reviewing the learner contract. So, in essence, this model it promotes independent, reflective, and self motivated learning while it also requires the learners strong discipline and initiative. It also empowers learners to design a path that fits their goals and life context, making it especially suitable for mature or lifelong learners like us. A great example of this model is the Empire State College in New York. Here, students work with mentors. They also develop their own learning contracts and study independently. And at the same time, students engage in reflective journals and real world projects. This model is highly flexible and tailored to individual needs. Other examples that I have cited here are self-paced MOOCs or massive online courses like Coursera or edX, and open universities that offer mentor-supported independent learning. These programs are ideal for learners with personal or professional obligations who need a more adaptable learning structure. Let's cover some of the key benefits and drawbacks of this model. So, for the benefits, number one, it offers maximum freedom for its learners. It encourages lifelong learning. And third is it accommodates varied schedules. For its drawbacks, number one, it demands high self discipline. There could be a learner isolation. It can lead to that. And also, it requires support in goal setting. In conclusion, the group distance education model is ideal for learners who need structured guidance using media like TV and radio to deliver consistent structure at scale. Meanwhile, for the autonomous learner model, it is perfect for mature learners who prefer independence, flexibility, and personal responsibility in their learning journey. But both models remain relevant and valuable today, especially when combined in blended learning environments that seek to balance structure and learner autonomy. So that ends my presentation, and here are the sources used in this report. Thanks for listening, and I'm excited to hear your insights in the forum.